So I wanted to stream today, but I never got the chance. So I'm going to record instead. This is a game called Scavenger SV-4. A game about exploring a random planet, not random, but a nowhere planet. A planet out in the middle of nowhere. Scavenging for bits and bobs to make money. I played this game once, as you can see, and I tried to record a session, but ended up being muted. Apologies for my scratchy throat. I have a cold. But let's just go with all the default stuff it gave me and jump right into it. Okay, here's our ship. Let's read our personal log to get our backstory here. So I'm mining a vein of nickel iron out of a big freaking rock when all of a sudden I would hit this pocket of ice. It all flash boils and the steam pressure ejects this big jagged hunk directly into the underbelly. Terrible sound. Had to break out the meteorite repair kit to stop Atmo leaking out of the medical bay. Tore the ship up bad. Repairs back at Novigrad, sent me back $4,000 that I can't really spare. Seems my luck might be changing. Spotted the remains of an old in-system shuttle. Might be worth some money. Sold it for $3,900 to Keith Edwards, a shipyard operator back at Novograd. I just have to laugh. It always adds up to nothing. I pulled up stakes at Novograd today, and I'm tired of just barely managing to scrape up a hold full of crap that sells for slightly more credits than what I'm spending stripping and hauling it. It really hit me, looking at the usual crowd. Same long faces. Nobody here is having better luck than me. I've been doing this for 6 years now. I met an old-timer, been doing this for 26. And all it got him was tired and broken. I'm going to head for the rim. Base out of Acheron for a while. It has to be better than this. Why do I recognize that name? This is Acheron, huh? The faces here are different. Everything else is the same. I heard talk of a big comet passing through. Huge parabolic orbit brings it by once every 60,000 years. Think I'm going to check it out. What is this thing? Right, the heavy isotope scanner picks up something in the cometary head that's hot as hell. Point source, basically. Tiny. My first guess, it's a slug of uranium or something. That's worth the trip. I deployed the rover to retrieve it. What I found was man-made. No, that's not the right word. It's manufactured. I think it was some kind of probe. Or was. It crashed into the comet's head. Melted deep into the ice. Has been riding around for a long, long time. I don't think it was made by a human. It's too weird. So, think about this. Obviously, this thing has got to be worth some money. Lots of money. I could sell it 100,000, 200,000. Money like that, I could be doing alright. Fix the Osprey up, a couple upgrades, but that leaves me doing the same damn thing I've always been doing. Just a little better off, but then I get an idea. I know the comet's orbit. The computer can tell me exactly how long ago the probe hit it, based on the isotopes from the radiation soaking into the ice. Tracing back along the comet's orbit to that point in time gives me a point in space where the collision happened. I can get a real good fix on the angle and velocity impact based on the shape of the crater and how it melted into the ice. Trace back from that point in space along the vector at that velocity, account for gravity, and I should hit the point of origin, right? Wherever this thing came from. The probe lights up the isotope detector like a beacon. It's easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. If I get even remotely close to anything like it, I'll spot it by the radiation signature. I could be the first one there, strike a claim or something like that, and never have to pick through asteroids again. The plotted trajectory looks like it points at a star system about 6 months out past the rim. I can't find any records of anybody ever visiting it. Might pay off or it might bankrupt me, but I'd rather do it than spend the rest of my life than spend my life wondering what would have happened if I had. I arrived at the planet that I think is the origin. It's got the same isotope signatures. It's radioactive as hell. Solid overcast. I don't think it ever lifts. Layers of clouds over solid clouds, hiding who knows what. I'm gonna make this fast. Stay in orbit, send the rover down, and see what I can recover. Interesting. Trying to strike a claim. Make some money, like I said. The game gives you a different backstory depending on, well, randomly. And it really seems, this game is just really interesting to me because it's such a slow and mundane approach to a subject matter like this. I mean that in the best way. Obviously, calling something mundane isn't always considered a good thing. But this game is very, it takes its time. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. But despite the creepy atmosphere, the dull whirring that you're hearing in the background of just the ship, it builds this very creepy tone to the whole game. But actually encountering scary stuff is kind of rare. Once we get to the planet, we'll see more of it. Or at least more of the creepy side, I mean, not the scary stuff. But to me, it's just all interesting. Let's see if the rover landed. It has. As you can see, this is the planet. A whole lot of nothing, it looks like, until you start looking at some of these structures. Clearly, that's not naturally occurring structure that looks like a giant spaceship train thing, almost. But here's the goal of the game. We drive the rover, get these little object nearby tabs, and look for it. And we pick up the object, and once we have a full rover, we go back to the ship. Obviously, as we read from our backstory, we're just here to make as much money as possible, so we don't have to be an asteroid miner anymore. But I've seen several different backstories. On the failed recording, we were paid for by a doctor to explore the planet. The doctor came with us, and then she went crazy and tried to kill us. So we killed her and blew her out the airlock. Another one was we were some sort of surveyor for a major company, and we were bored with our job. We found this planet, and we decided to sort of hide it from our boss. And just explore the planet, try and make as much money as possible. I didn't know there was water on this planet. I've actually never seen water in either of my playthroughs. I also watched a YouTuber play this, and I think in his game, the one round that I watched, because I wanted to save it for myself mostly, he was a scientist who nobody believed, so he went out to find the planet himself. The game certainly does have a lot of backstories. Despite my minimal play, I would have expected to accidentally roll the same story at least, or at least a similar setting, but I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen the same word usage, like the same planet or anything like that described. Like it was talking about some place called Novograd, and I have not seen it use that term before. So I'm curious if the game pulls from a database. This whole planet seems to be water. I wonder if the game pulls from a excuse me, a database at random, or if the game has like sort of a Mad Lib style of doing it. Let me take a drink of water here. Excuse me. I choked down the water. Ugh. But, as you can see, as the personal log also told us, this planet is highly radioactive, and even just spending time in the atmosphere is dangerous. Which this sort of acts as the game's timer, so we can't just spend an infinite amount of time collecting an infinite amount of stuff. And I'm a person who knows very little about radiation. My rover arrived. I know very little about radiation. Aside from that, this, I think, is how it is actually measured. This MSV. But to me, when I see... I think it said it. When I see cellular damage detected, that's immediately is telling me, leave immediately. That is saying, get out of there. I don't want to be here anymore. But, obviously this game is set in the future, so I think we're a bit safer than that. I would imagine that such a futuristic setting would have advanced ways of caring for radiation poisoning. This changing weather has really been destroying my throat and my nose. I've had a stuffy nose for weeks now. And I've been having to use nasal spray. I also tried to take a Claritin before I record to see if it cleared me up, and it didn't. It seems this Midwestern fall is really kicking my butt. I don't know if it's the chill in the air or if it's the pollen setting off allergies. No, I guess it wouldn't be pollen. What would it be? I'm not sure what it would be. I guess it could be pollen. Just the whatever it is, setting off my allergies. We're just gonna wait in here until all those all that research finishes. I've got this tip that I think staying in the auto dock prevents the radiation poisoning. I think we're immune from the radiation here, but I'm not actually certain. I don't know if that was what I read was true. But if it is, I have no problem sleeping in this weird casket. The 0G really makes it seem like you're floating ahead, which is pretty uncomfortable. Somewhat dizzying. And I think there's a way to turn that off, but turning it off would require me going to this options menu, which resets the whole game. It's one of those games where the options menu is a separate pre-launcher thing, like you see with Unity games, where it's you select like the graphic settings and the ratio you want to play your game in. Stuff's not done yet. And once you get into the game, you can't change your options anymore. Or sometimes you can. But I somewhat miss those. Maybe the autodock isn't radiation proof. But I somewhat miss those, I guess you could call them launchers, because it's nice to be able to set up a resolution before the game actually starts. Because I've had games where it's like, if you want to change the resolution, you have to reset the whole game anyway. Which is really annoying. I don't know if the preload launcher is a staple of Unity games or not, but that's what I've always seen them on. I think once some of that research completes, we'll get a little pop-up on our screen that says, hey, it's done, and it'll tell us what it is. As we saw, those structures, they clearly weren't naturally forming. So, it is safe to assume there's aliens on the planet. Some of the things we discover, the artifacts, will be weapons, and we have to attach those to our rover. We may encounter hostile life. Feels really weird, the 0G of just being a little floating head. Give me a second. I really should grab a cough drop. I'm back. Now you're gonna hear my cough drop in my mouth, but my throat is really hurting after failing to record a session. Spending about an hour just yapping with a mic muted. It was not fun. Is our stuff complete? I was not looking. It looks like it all completed. Radioactive armor. This material is tough and resilient and has almost no thermal insulative effect. It's a coolant. I don't wonder if we should stick it on. We'll stick on the radioactive armor, I think. Hit this pulse laser. I think we have one more thing to research. Let's take this to the garage, this to the garage, move these. Now what is this thing? Electrical. Okay. Let's put on our parts. And we will launch the rover once we get the stuff installed. From what I understand, you can find some pretty weird artifacts. Whoa, our rover looks sick. Let's go ahead and launch it. Oh, it's an electric weapon. Bonking my head. Pop back into the auto dock and scan ourselves. Arc projector. Yeah, here you go. Cellular damage. That already sets a red flag in my brain. But I don't think we're in full panic mode yet. I do think we have a lot of time, or a lot more time than my initial reaction would believe. Let's see if we're there yet. Not yet. We're breaking through the cloud cover. Yeah, look at this. There's water all over this planet. In both my playthroughs, I never saw water at all. Oh, oops. Double tapping the right mouse button puts you off of the screen and can send your character flying face first into the computer terminal. There's an object nearby. Now, because we put on those items, we have less room. But that's okay. Looks like a giant robot hand. Well, we haven't been shot at yet. So that's lucky. Can we recall from here? We can. Let's go back to the auto dock. And once we're ready to send the rover again, I'll reset the position. See, all of this just scares me. If you know anything about radiation poisoning, please let me know in the comments. Because if I was in this person's shoes and I saw that, I would just say, okay, this isn't worth it, and leave. But I am also a hypochondriac, so the idea of getting any kind of cancer or disease or anything like that scares the hell out of me. Close that door. Oops. Scan our stuff. Hop back in here. I find space in general to be very interesting. I don't know if I brought it up earlier, but stuff like this, Voices of the Void, Signal Simulator, it's all just very cool to me. I remember looking through the telescope as a kid. My dad bought. I can't remember if we got it in a magazine or something, but it really makes me wish I had a telescope thinking about it. The story of how that telescope got broken is actually pretty weird. As a kid in my childhood house, our stairs to go to the second floor had this weird. They were like walled stairs. I don't know how to describe it. There was basically this. It wasn't a handrail. It was like a window almost, where there was a wall, but there was like maybe a foot that you could see of space. You could see through. And we got a dog, and she one day was standing up there and she just fell on this thing. She fell on the telescope and broke it. But she was fine. That poor dog. It's just so mini laser. Huh. It's just so funny that it broke in such a ridiculous fashion. But if you watch my other video about me, that was of me playing 3 spooky games, one of the games was about a fairly recent news piece about Earth getting a second moon. And as far as I can tell, you can't see it actually from Earth, which made me wish I had a telescope again. And playing a game about space is also making me wish I had a telescope again. Granted, I wouldn't expect to see anything as extravagant as a massive radioactive, I guess is it technically a gas giant? What qualifies as a gas giant? Is it just having a gaseous cloud cover, or is it having no discernible solid ground? Forward radar. The system consists of a directional radio and matching receiver. I am curious as to... Obviously this game is sort of roguelike. And I'm curious as to just how much stuff is in the game. How many times can you replay the game and see something completely unique? I guess not completely. In my other playthroughs, I've seen this arc projector before. It wasn't named this, but I have seen it before. But what I'm more so referring to is that load bank. I'm more so referring to the idea that the game is replayable in such a manner that, given the change in backstory, the change in planet, either landing or the planet itself, I don't know if the planet itself is randomized. Like I said earlier, I've never seen the water before, but I've also never explored the planet beyond a small area. So I am really curious as to how much you can just play this game and before you start seeing like the same thing again and again. But unless you keep track of all that, I imagine it is kind of difficult to do that, to see everything, to remember like, hey, I've seen this before, hey, I've seen that before. To remember all the names and places and all that stuff. I think I forgot to reset the rover's landing position. I remember I wanted to do that, but I forgot to do it. But that's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. Our only real problem is I don't know where to go. I'm clearly surrounded by water, and this might be a bridge over here, a land bridge. The last thing I want to do is to accidentally fall into the water with my rover and then be completely stuck. No way to even continue the game. Well, that's not a bridge. Was there more on this other part of the land bridge? Whoops. I accidentally tapped the right mouse button. I may continue to do that every once in a while. I accidentally press the button and slam my face into the computer. Just like real life. I apparently did not go over here. Oh. We got an object. Some kind of power storage device. I think after a while, once you start researching things, you tend to tell what other things are, or at least you start to guess. You still have to research them, but much more minimally. We have not encountered any aliens yet, but that does look like a giant turret out in the distance there. I kind of don't want to mess with it. Nope. I think there's one right there. I think that's an alien. Did we kill it? I think we killed it. Either we killed it or it was already dead. What is that? See that? There's like a castle. We have a full inventory, but look at that. What is that structure? We gotta get back. What was that? That looked terrifying. Top in the auto dock before any aliens follow us, I guess. And before we get too radiation sick. We already got mild radiation sickness. Do not panic. I like that. Telling us not to panic as we're locked into basically a coffin. Oh, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I don't think our rover's back yet. There it is. Now we wait. Let's go in there and watch it unload. Nice. Research everything and run to the auto dock for safety. I really don't know if this is working. It's hard to tell. Like I said, I know so little about radiation sickness aside from like what happened to people in Chernobyl and all that. And I haven't even watched that Chernobyl Netflix series, whatever it was, miniseries. But I do think what I watched on Netflix a long time ago was a bad movie that I believe was called Chernobyl Diaries. This is the type of game where if you alt-tab, it mutes everything and pauses the screen. But if you don't remember Chernobyl Diaries, I believe it's basically, from what I remember, it's a fake found footage movie. And I mean fake in two ways. One, it's not real, obviously. But two, it kind of forgets that it's a found footage movie halfway through it being found footage. It tends to play up the found footage angle a lot, and then it stops for some reason. basically, from what little of the plot I can remember, because I want to say I watched this in like middle school, or maybe like early high school. It's basically college kids go to Ukraine and they're like having a good time partying. Then for some reason, one of them suggests like, dude, we're in Ukraine, we gotta go to Chernobyl. Like, that's just what kids want to do. I guess maybe some, if you're really into like Stalker. But the long and short of it is that they find a guy who will get them into Pripyat illegally, and eventually he dies somehow, or he gets lost or something. He just leaves. I don't even know if they show him being killed. I think he just leaves. And after he leaves, our college students are left to fend for themselves. And I think they start either disappearing or dying. Something's killing them. I don't remember. But eventually, they just leave where they are, and they somehow end up in Chernobyl proper. They even go into the reactor somehow. And they're also, like, trying to flee from mutants? Like, mutated Chernobyl people. And to spoil this movie that is so old, and I don't think many people remember, and even if you want to watch it, I don't recommend it. But if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to 10 seconds or 30 seconds or something. But basically the twist is like, oh, the government's in on it, and they lock the main character woman in a giant cell with a bunch of those Chernobyl mutants. It's such a stupid ending to a movie. And like I said, they dropped the found footage aspect. Because I'm saying it's found footage, and like I said, I don't remember this movie clearly, as it was a very long time ago. But I distinctly remember, like, the opening sequence being, like, recorded. Like, it's supposed to be handheld recorded. But it might not have been? I don't remember. It's really taken a long time to research those items. Once we get back to the planet, we're gonna get close to that massive mega structure. But I don't know if we actually have the weaponry to deal with it. Muting and unmuting. For some reason, control makes your character, like, sink, and E makes them raise. I don't know why that does that. But then I have to, like, mute myself to cough and stuff. I end up sinking to the bottom of the auto dock like a stone. You can still hear the research going on. All the beeps and boops of the research machine. I don't know if I've missed it, but... Oh, the laser. That completed. It's also some kind of data storage item. It's very slow. But I think it's almost done. Oh, there we go. Number sequence. Huh? do you mean number sequence? Research facility has succeeded. The data stored on this wafer appears to be a collection of numeric constants. One base corrected. Many sequences match the known mathematical progressions. Fibonacci sequence. What is this? Uh-oh. Is this... Is this what I think it is? I am not sure. Also, we almost have a full storage. I'd say we take off. Because I kind of want to see if that is what I think it is. Also, my throat is getting kind of sore. So I do need to rest it. But let's end the expedition. If it's not what I think it is, then we'll find out in the ending screen here, but I do know there is an artifact that has a lot of crazy stuff associated with it. I obviously won't spoil because I do want to come back to this game. Here we go. Catherine A. Simpson explored the planet's surface at some length, mapping portions of the island she discovered at the landing site. She looted 10 derelicts and recovered 11 alien artifacts from the surface. She made use of the Osprey Research Lab, granting her basic familiarity with alien technologies, the most valuable of the items was a number sequence valued at 10,000 credits. And all her collected treasures were worth 38,200 credits. During her encounter, she exposed herself to a small but significant dose of hard radiation. She returned to the terminus station, knowing the contents of her cargo hold could change the course of human history. After cutting several shrewd business deals, she opened a research institute on an asteroid base. The top researchers and scientists of the colonized worlds are welcome to study the alien technology there for a price. The access fee goes up as the institute fills, and the bidding war between nations and corporations for the last few slots became quite heated. Catherine A. Simpson enjoys a respectable cut of the credits, a handsome income for the foreseeable future. So it wasn't what I thought it was. That's a bit upsetting, because we had that huge building we didn't research. Or study, or... what do you want to say? Explore. But that's okay. I will definitely return to this game, whether or not on stream or off. I don't know. But if you want to catch me on stream, go to twitch.tv/spaghettibase to find me. But I will catch you next time. Have a happy Halloween. And bye-bye.